let me again. I appreciated our discussion the other day. Let me go into this one topic that I think is actually a very important one. The budget that the president put forward for the Corps of Engineers effectively prohibits funding for Army Corps projects that, quote, facilitate the transportation of fossil fuel products. Now, you and I kind of did a quick little back of the envelope estimate. That's probably at least 50% of all Corps of Engineer projects. Let me give one example. I know that in the Boston area, they import a lot of LNG from Russia. Very bad policy, by the way, the state of Massachusetts. They'd rather import gas from Russia, our adversary, than Americans who produce gas in Pennsylvania. As far as I can tell, this reading wouldn't allow you to dredge Boston Harbor or do any work there. Do you agree with this? And what do you think the implications are of a policy that prohibits the Corps from any project that transports fossil fuels?
Senator Sullivan, I appreciate the discussion, the heads up on this particular matter when we talked the other night. I don't believe that's a policy. I did go and find the language that I think you're referring to. I'm not 100% sure, but my understanding was that in the budget there was language talking about considerations made in the development of the budget, of which one of those was to limit the subsidies that the Corps would provide for oil and gas, facilitating oil and gas operations. So first of all, I understand it was a discussion about the consideration. It was essentially directed towards subsidies, and moreover, it was it's a policy document in which there was this language trying to explain how the overall budget was developed. And so from that standpoint, I don't believe that is the policy, that it has the breadth of issues that you and I were discussing the other night. But second of all, I can just assure you that in making decisions about how to allocate resources, I'm going to be focused on the applicable statutes, laws that apply, the appropriations provided by Congress, and the direction on how to use those appropriations. And that's going to, as I see it, and I did go through the budget after we talked, it's directing that a lot of these activities related to commerce and ports and waterways and transportation needs are going to continue in full force.
So let me just read some of the language. It says, no funding for work that directly subsidizes fossil fuels, including work that lowers the cost of production, lowers the cost of consumption, or raises revenues retained by producers of fossil fuels. So do you agree with that?
Well, that's a little bit different language than I've seen.
I'm reading the budget.
Right. No, I understand that I need to go back and look at that specific language.
Again, I'm a huge believer in what the Corps does. Their mission is to build things. A lot of what they do is transportation. A lot of what they do is pipelines. A lot of what they do. We still need energy in America. There's a far left element of the Biden administration that thinks we can get rid of fossil fuels. We can't. Okay, we can't. You'll crush the economy. By the way, there's a lot of discussion of union jobs in here. You'll kill millions of union jobs. The president's already pretty good at that. So I just need your commitment that this kind of policy makes no sense. And it's a huge, huge component of the work that the Corps of Engineers does. Right now, the president's budget is telling and directing you can't do a lot of the work that you traditionally do. And I just think it's a really big issue, Mr. Chairman, that we need to look at in detail. A number of us are going to be writing the head of OMB in the next day or two to ask direct questions about this topic. But can I get your commitment to work with me and others in this committee who care about the delivery of energy and the men and women who produce it, many of whom are union members, and not discriminate, particularly with regard to the Corps' mission, on projects that help us deliver energy to Americans, particularly when gasoline prices right now are skyrocketing, hurting working families. This is all going to contribute to that. And I'd like your commitment to work with me and this committee on this topic. It's a really, really important topic. I don't think it's a partisan topic. I don't think EPW members want to have a policy that says you cannot help with the transportation or consumption of energy. We need energy in America. I know some of the far left Green New Dealers don't think we do, but we do. Can I get your commitment on that?
You have my commitment to work with you, this committee as a whole, to carry out the Corps' mission to continue to do those projects and maintain waterways and to continue to rehabilitate.
How about pipelines?
In pipelines, we will move forward with our permitting responsibilities consistent with the Clean Water Act, be transparent, and do the full analysis. And I'm happy to continue to work with you in those areas and to continue that work in the way it's directed under the existing laws.
Great. Mr. Chairman, may I ask one final question?
Yes. I'd ask you to brief before I think we're about to start voting, and I want to ask one more question myself.
I just want to, we had a really good discussion the other day, and again, I appreciated all the time that you had in my office as it relates to permitting. And again, I think that this is pretty much a bipartisan issue. We had some good language on permitting reform here in this committee when we marked up the highway bill. The Corps has a kind of can-do, mission-oriented focus on building things. But when it takes 9 years to permit a bridge, or 9 to 19 years to permit and build a highway in America, those are averages, it really, really undermines our ability to put people to work and build the infrastructure we need as a country. Can I get your commitment to work with this committee? You and I had a good discussion about this on permitting reform, not to cut corners, but to get to projects in an efficient, timely manner. And as you know, and Mr. Chairman, we've talked about in this committee, if we have efficient, timely permitting, we're also going to be able to get millions, billions of dollars off the sidelines and from the private sector that will invest in these kind of infrastructure projects. But they won't invest if it's a 10-year permitting timeline. Can I get your commitment to work with us, this committee and me, on those important issues?
Senator, yes, absolutely. This will be a high priority to do our part, if I'm confirmed, to make our permitting system more efficient. And that means collaborating, coordinating with other agencies that are involved, and getting even to another place that you and I talked about, mitigation banking and other opportunities. When you bring those in and you create more opportunities to deal with the impacts of projects, I think that also helps to address creates at least the opportunity to do permitting more efficiency and move it forward. So I'm a big fan of the federal government working with others to be more efficient in this process. That's a long-winded answer to your question. Yes, you have my commitment.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.